trying to reconnect. It looks like we're live. Home of the Hustle, Tuesday nights. Eddie Martin here. It looks dark in here. That's because it is. You couldn't see me. I was glowing. So I'm just taking a quick second. I hopped on here a couple minutes early just to make sure that everything was working right and that I could see comments and we don't have any issues there. So what I'm going to ask you guys to do is take this couple seconds here to share this thing out for me. Highly appreciate it if you do. I got a special one on with us tonight. Tammy Kling is going to be joining us. Tammy is the CEO of OnFire Books. She is a TEDx speaker. She's awesome, amazing person. And you guys are going to learn a lot from Tammy tonight about words, the meaning of those words, the discernment, the use of those words, the power of those words, as well as we're going to be talking about your blind spots. Searching through here, looks like we're good. Share it out if you could. I'd appreciate it and love you all the same. Apologize for hopping in here a couple minutes early, but I'd rather be early than have this thing act funny on us and then have it not work. So say what's up here. What's up, Justin, Austin, Crystal, Susan, Linda. What's up? Appreciate you guys being here. Yeah, Tammy's a beast. So I spent Friday night at an event with Tammy. Tammy throws an event every year. It's a mastermind ish type thing, invite only, something I just became aware of. They invited me to come out there. I was excited to do so. A little thrown off why they would invite me, but either way, it went really, really well. I learned a lot, and I'm going to be going back next year. Tammy has joined us. Let me grab her. Invite. All right, so we are inviting Tammy. She'll be in here any second. Let's see if Tammy should have a notification on your screen to select, add to the live. Hopefully this thing is working. Man, Facebook did something. They did some sort of update, and things are acting funny. They're acting very funny. We'll give Tammy a second here. If it doesn't allow her in, I'm going to cut it. There we go.
Hey there.
Hey there, how are you?
Awesome, doing great.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad that it's working because I've been sitting over here beating my head against the phone trying to figure out why I look like I'm glowing and radioactive and why my screen's sideways. So I'm glad that everything's working out. If you guys are just jumping in here, share this thing out. I want you guys to know Tammy. If you don't know Tammy, she's awesome. We're going to do a little intro so that you guys can learn a little bit about her. And then we'll go into some more details about the conversation that we're going to have here. So welcome. I appreciate you coming.
Nice to see you. What a great show.
Yeah. Thank you. So you want to tell the 26 people hanging out with us right now a little bit about yourself, kind of your story a little bit, for those that don't know.
Sure. I see a lot that actually already know my story. Hey guys. Hey Cy. Hey Howard. How's it going? Hey Frank. Hey Lisa Marie.
Yeah, there's a bunch of good people in here that we know. I think there's a handful that probably don't. So we don't need
Absolutely.
We don't need a big one.
Well, so I have a couple of companies. One is OnFire Books, leadership company. So it's a leadership, I really don't want to say startup because it's been 15 years now, but it's a leadership company that I started up after working with a lot of entrepreneurs and really cool speakers. So we write books and we help speakers kind of get launched. But as you know, Eddie, from the conversation, a lot of our speakers aren't just guys like Zig Ziglar or speakers like Gary Vee, but they're actually entrepreneurs, whether it's, millennial, like you met Drew, I think, who rides around his company on a hoverboard, just sold it for, you know, a crazy amount of money. And not the hoverboard, but the company. And so all kinds of spectrum of people that really want to kind of write a book about their wisdom. So that's one of the things I do is own OnFire books.
That's awesome. Well, so many people wanting to write books and don't really know where to start, or, you know, how to take that information that they have in their head and be able to put it into words or compress it in a way where anybody could actually get through it and read it and understand what it was that they were thinking about, right?
Absolutely, yes. And it's actually, since a book is in the Library of Congress for 1,000 years, you know, it's important to get it right, because I don't know about you, but when I die, I'm not going to have my domain names probably still going. I mean, I don't know, but I don't think so. But I will, you know, I will still have a lot of books out there. So.
Yeah, I think your GoDaddy account's going to expire by then.
If there even is Google in 200 years, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I know we run into people all the time that are looking to write books and whatnot. So if that's something that anybody watching here wants to get some more information out of that, get a hold of Tammy or one of her people. They're probably in the comments here as we scroll through, and they'd absolutely love to help you out. So I watched your TED Talk today.
Thank you.
I think I watched part of it before when I first found you on social, and I wanted to kind of refresh on that. So you do a lot of work with the homeless, correct?
Yes, we do. We do, and well, I do. I always have had a heart for the homeless. It's just kind of something that was intrinsic in me, I think, since I was like 17. But then as time went by, I really was able to see how CEOs, entrepreneurs, billionaires, millionaires, you know, all men were the same. All men and women have issues and pain and silent struggles and frustrations. It doesn't matter who we are. So I really love to help the homeless, because they're really just anyone that has reached that low point in life. And then we also are the only company in the world that I know of that has a homeless writers division. And that's really cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. I was very interested in the fact you were talking about the correlation between a story of a CEO versus a story of a homeless person and how they were exactly the same.
Yes, that was an amazing day, actually. Thank you. You did watch the TED Talk. Thank you.
I don't lie.
That's great. That's great. If there's anybody on, Lana, thank you. Lana actually has a homeless ministry. She's on your feed right now, and she's watching the show. She's got a cool homeless ministry called Many Helping Hands. And Lana, I met on the street when I was serving the homeless, and so is she, but she actually used to be homeless and now has a really super cool job, husband, life, everything. But it's really just unbelievable how that happens. But yeah, the story you're talking about is I was sitting in this high rise with this really cool 36-year-old CEO, but he was crying and he was telling me, I mean, he's got Lambos and islands and all kinds of stuff. And he was telling me a really sad story about his father and how his dad was never in his life. And I mean, I was sitting in his office shedding a tear or trying to hold back tears. And then I went downstairs. I had to be at the homeless. I had to deliver something to a homeless friend. So I changed in his parking lot real quick, put my jeans on, took my suit off, and I went under this bridge to find this homeless guy. And when I sat with him, I realized as he was talking about his dad, that they had the identical stories. So they had the exact same father wound, which is their dad wasn't in their lives at all. So it really just crystallized in my head, Eddie, how the difference is really in our choices. And sometimes even that millionaire or billionaire still might have the exterior wealth, but is really poor inside because they're hanging on to that toxic wound.
Yeah, because we're all just people at the end of the day. Everybody is the same. Your success in life is based around your choices, and it doesn't matter if your stories are still the same.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right on.
So I thought that was very interesting. If you guys don't know who I'm talking to here, this is Tammy Kling. Share this out, get more people in here so they can meet Tammy too. I met Tammy in person for the first time on Friday.
Yes, that was great. Thank you so much for igniting all those conversations. Man, what an eclectic group of world changers in that forest. And I know you kind of stepped out, you know, and took a chance, and that's what successful people do is, you know, you flew down somewhere, went in a forest, not knowing who the other 99 people would be, and they came in from all over the world, Russia, London, as you know, everywhere. And I really appreciate you kind of sharing your wisdom, because leaders have a hard time talking to people. They can't talk to their board. They can't talk to their significant other sometimes, especially if it's a big issue that the significant other doesn't understand. And so it's really nice to sit face to face in a peer group. That's one of the things I've learned from a variety of peer groups and masterminds, is it's really great to be with people that can think differently.
Yeah, you kind of break down past the walls that need to be there in order to function in everyday corporate life, and get into an environment where it's a safe zone and nobody's going to get offended, and you can actually talk about, you know, real issues that you might be having, and might not even be an issue that you're having. It could be something that you had in the past and somebody else is dealing with it right now. So you can kind of give some insight on your own personal experience there. And I'll tell you, I showed up there, for one, not really understanding why I was invited in the first place. And then being there going, all right, I'm just going to take it in. I'm just going to listen to what people have to say and kind of absorb the information that was coming at me. I'm always trying to learn rather than teach. And I couldn't bite my tongue in certain scenarios, so I had to speak up. So it was good because it pulled me right out of my initial intention on what I was going to do when I got there, which was just be quiet and take it in. And I definitely didn't stay quiet the whole time, although I did take in a lot.
Yes, it was good. It was valuable. It really was. And you know, people learned from things that you said. And so that's the cool thing, is we don't all, I mean, as leaders, we're always pretty much in control of our routine, our success. We know how to communicate, but in that kind of mastermind, it's nice because you really don't know who took your wisdom and applied it, but without a doubt, somebody did.
Yeah, for sure. And I gained quite a bit of perspective on the way out of that thing too. I don't think you really realize it right there on the spot. It's more of something that's digested after a couple of days.
Lindsay just made a great point. She said they end up hoarding wisdom when they aren't given the venue to gift it to someone else. And that is so true. I see that. That's why, of course, we like people to write books, is legacy. You know, we're not going to live forever, right? And only you have lived that life that you're living. So even though you share your principles with other people, it's the collection of your experiences and principles that just makes your life unique. So she's right on.
Yeah, and it is your responsibility to share that. I think it is your responsibility. Maybe I'm over opinionated, but I'm always inserting my opinion into everything that I can, because I think that's part of that legacy, is how you affect everything around you on a day-to-day basis. And I think that was a little bit of perspective that I gained over the weekend there. So yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate that. And I'm happy to come back next year. You want me to come out and be an igniter?
Yes.
That's cool.
We do. Actually, the committee already named 3 people that they want as igniters to come back, and you are one of them. So you'll be looking for that letter that they're going to send out to you if they haven't already. But this year in 2018, because there's definitely going to be a waiting list, they're going to establish the igniters early. So you are just spot on pretty much your self-awareness of everything. So thank you. Hi, Howard.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm honored. Oh, Bernie just showed up. Bernie's a good dude. I got a lot of good people in here. If you guys don't know Tammy, this is Tammy Kling, CEO, OnFire Books Leadership Company. Share this bad boy out so more people can meet Tammy. If you've been here the whole time and you hear me repeating myself, I am very sorry. But at the end of the day, people come in late, and the goal is to make sure that we get as much exposure to the folks that are supporting what we do, and we support what they do. So we wanted to talk tonight a little bit about one of the specific topics from the conversation, right?
Sure, yes.
Which was blind spots. So
that's actually my favorite topic.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
I think my favorite one I walked away from was legacy.
Well, legacy, I mean, that's what the conversation is all about. We should probably talk about that for a few minutes.
For sure. If you like, what does legacy mean to you?
Well, for me, I always tell people that, because I noticed a lot of people had a different view on legacy, but I always tell people that you can build a life or you can build a legacy, and your legacy is not what you do, it's who you are. And when I say what you do, I mean, you know, I was talking to a professional athlete once who said, oh, now everybody's just looking at this other athlete. ESPN doesn't want to do anything on me anymore. And I said, you know what? This was at the conversation, actually. I said, you are who you are. You're not what you do. You aren't a job. So if you're an athlete or an engineer or an entrepreneur, or your job, your resume doesn't define you. I mean, you can go do anything. If you've got the gift of hustle, of encouragement, of persistence, if you work hard and you've got drive and people like you and you don't step all over people, you know how to sell, you know how to make people like you, then you have these gifts that are transferable to any industry. And the question is, how are you going to build your legacy? So we always focus people on being super intentional about their legacy. So my definition is 4 quadrants, you know, faith, family, finances, and fitness. Just being pretty, I don't like the word balanced necessarily, because I wouldn't call myself balanced. I say that passionate and really being excellent in all those quadrants. So building a legacy of giving back to others, giving to yourself, but being really, really intentional about what you're building. How about you?
Well, you said that, like, the balance thing, right? There's no such thing as balance. You're just present in whatever you're in, right? You're living there. I'm like a huge proponent of play the long game, think the long game, but live in the moment. Live right in front of you what's going on right now, because there might not be another moment. That might be it. After the
I love that. I love that.
After the conversation, my perception of legacy did change, because coming out of the Vegas ordeal and us being around the corner, you know, it really had me thinking about, like, man, we were on our way to Mandalay. Something bad could have happened. Like, I could be gone. Like, how would people remember me if I was gone? And my mind immediately went to the long term. Like, what global impact did Eddie Martin have on the world? I didn't. But that's not what mattered. So I'm starting to think, and one of the gentlemen that was at the conversation was a friend of Zig Ziglar's. And he was we're talking about legacy, and he was getting really passionate about his relationship with Zig. And he said that Zig lived his life. I'm not going to quote the guy, but Zig lived his life, and what he talked about, he lived it. He represented it. That's what he was about. And because of that, he has all this other stuff that comes along with what legacy is. So I'm starting to think about, the following night, I'm starting to think about, okay, what does legacy mean to me? Well, it's kind of in pieces, right? It's in parts. You have the ripple effect of the legacy that you create on a day-to-day basis. You don't have to remember my name. You don't have to remember my face. All you have to do is remember what you learned from me, whether it be good or bad. It's all part of what that legacy is. And I think that's like the foundation of what you're doing in life. That's the foundation of your legacy. There'll be plenty of people here that don't ever remember me, but they might remember something that I said. They might remember something about the way I made them feel because of what I said in a specific situation. But I think it's layered, because once you go forward from there, you are affecting so what's my day-to-day legacy? How do I live my life? On top of that, what is my impact on my community? On top of that, what is my impact on my city, on my country, globally? What will they remember me 3 generations from now? Somebody brought up in the circle there that no one knows what great-great-grandpa did. Very few people know, his name was Bill, and he worked at a steel mill or whatever he did. But they don't remember anything about him. And I was thinking, how much does that really matter? Well, it does and it doesn't. I think it more so matters what impact you have on what you can touch right now. And if you do that well enough, then it expands out to what you can't touch and what you never would have. You don't even exist anymore, and that impact is still happening. But it doesn't start, in my opinion, with looking at how am I going to have a global impact. That's way too much of an overwhelming scenario to be thinking about. Let's think about what we can do today, how we can help somebody today that will have that lasting effect. That's kind of what I took away from the conversation in general, which boils back down to perception.
Yes. And that's great. I love what you said about living in the moment, because this could be the last moment, and really caring for others and enjoying the journey while being intentional about our goals is really something that's hard for a lot of entrepreneurs, because they're so focused on results. So it is important to give back, but also to just be fully present. And you're actually really good about that. You're really good about kind of looking people in the eye and just being very fully present.
Yeah, I just figure if I'm going to be there, I might as well be there. I've spent too much of my life being there and actually being somewhere else. And I don't get those interactions back. I don't get that time back. I don't get those lessons back. I get a different lesson from not being present. So I try to stay aware and cognizant of that, as I'm going throughout my day. Everybody matters.
Hey, Josh, Cash is wise beyond his years. How old is he? That's great. Baby steps turn into big boy steps. I love that. That's great. That is really great. So let's talk about Blindspots. And I can tell you, the conversation is not, just like our lives, the conversation event, we have it once a year. There's 100 world changers. We had to turn down a very famous politician's family because we don't focus on press. We don't focus on media. We don't focus on any one person. So if we had Justin Bieber there, or we had Eric Trump or Donald Trump there, it would be chaos, right? Everyone would get lost. So while we do allow celebrities to come in, we just don't focus on media and an entourage and all of that, because the conversation really came from those 4 circles: wisdom, blind spots, legacy, and what was the last one? Perception. Yeah. So those circles came from 15 years of me sitting with guys like Zig Ziglar, and my whole company started because of Zig Ziglar. At his 80th birthday party is when I decided to start my company to equip world changers. That was the whole, it was like as clear as, crystal moment. That was the moment that I started my company. And so it came from a collection of sitting with all these great minds and just asking them questions in books. Excuse me. So one of the things that we talk about is blind spots, right? Obviously, you have to be clear about your legacy and be intentional. And blind spots is one of the things I've noticed about successful people, uber successful people, like 1%ers, is that they really always seek to discover what isn't working, and not just how people view them, but their blind spots in life, and then eliminate them. So they're always kind of detoxing.
Yeah, being aware of their imperfections and their actions so that they can better themselves along the way, rather than thinking you know everything and everything is good, and meanwhile you're missing the point, or there's a hole in the boat and you don't realize it's sinking because you're not paying any attention to it.
Yes, and blind spots is really critical, because every year I ask myself one question, and that is, what blind spots do I have? Okay, and I ask that question, and then I always am open to the answer, but I actually ask it pretty continuously every month. And I've noticed that it's like the 7 habits of highly successful people. Well, I've noticed that 1%ers actually do the opposite. It's not the 7 habits that they do. It's really the 7 things they don't do, which is about elimination. So for instance, not answering the phone. I've noticed that real successful people generally don't answer the phone. I mean, CEOs, etc. I can't even think of a time I've sat with a CEO in his office where he's answered his cell phone. So why is that? Probably because successful people get so much in that it would really be impossible to stay focused and intentional. So blind spots are really about, man, how can I audit my life and my thoughts? And like Glenn said, Glenn Alexander on your show, he said, you know, it reminds him of the Johari window, and that one, I know he's talking about the one window pane, what you don't know, you don't know. Without a doubt, a blind spot is what you don't know, you don't know. It's driving down the highway, there's something in your, you know, missing in your rearview mirror that could get you killed. So I'm reading these comments, are pretty funny.
He never answers the phone.
I don't either. I literally never answer my phone. Literally. I'm not saying that's great. I've got 77 voicemails now, and I will answer them eventually, but pretty much people know how to get in touch with me. So
yeah. Well, so okay, so that's kind of a different paradigm, right? For a 1%er or a CEO of a company that needs to stay 100% present in their moment, and they can't allow for outside distractions to come into their space, because that would break their flow. That would break the direction that they were going in, because you have your disciplines and you're trained to continue to do these things, and that's how you became successful. For me, as like a career salesperson, I will answer my phone. If I'm not meeting with somebody, like, the phone's getting answered, period. If a salesperson asks me, should I let the phone go to voicemail? Absolutely not. Answer the phone, because you might miss an opportunity. So, you know, when we're talking about that specific scenario there, that applies when you're focused and in that zone.
And I love that. I mean, I admire that. You know, I am phone averse because I think there's so much information coming at me, but for my sales team, heck yeah, I'd want them to answer their phone, you know, different roles. But a blind spot for somebody else might be that they need to answer their phone. You know, I mean, actually, the last 2 times I answered my phone, which was crazy, I remember telling my assistant, man, I have to answer my phone, because one was the Huffington Post and one was a huge leader of a company. And so I said, I have to answer my phone. So, you know, it's about being around a lot of different people and not just in our comfort zone. Someone said a moment ago, how do we discover our blind spots? Really being aware of it first is the first step. Being aware that there's even such a thing as you don't know what you don't know. That is so huge, because successful people, which you have a bunch of successful people watching this show right now, successful people have a routine. We get an order of doing things, whether it's the time we work out or what we eat. And we need to be around other people. We need to read. We need to watch videos. We need to watch Facebook Lives like this to really be open to learning and growing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of like the point I was going to make too, is you can't, like, you don't know what you don't know, right? You can't see the blind spot. And there's going to be things that even if you're looking for them and you're staying aware, okay, what am I doing wrong? Where am I missing what's going on around me, right? And you'll find some. But I found that for me personally in my life, it's been about that circle, right? It's been about having the right people around you and having the right personality and the right mindset of transparency, that my friends know that they can tell me when I'm screwing up. They can tell me when I'm missing something, because I don't put up a front. I don't put up a facade. I am who I am. And because of that, it allows for open lines of communication with people that are in my circle of trust. So I found that I get a lot of good insight on the stuff I might be missing, because I am open to suggestion. I really do try to live by I don't know nothing. I know nothing.
Well, that's humility that you have, and you're humble. A lot of people, I will say, I heard some people in the conversation circle say, I surround myself with a team of, my wife, my business partner, et cetera, et cetera. That's really not, that's good. They'll give you feedback, but that's not what I refer to as a life team.
Yeah.
A life team, seek out 12 people who you want and need to be on your life team. Make one a doctor, one a lawyer. I promise you're going to need both. Okay. Nurture those relationships, and then make one an entrepreneur who sold his company for 50 million. Make one the VP of sales of a company. These don't have to be people that you know, but people that maybe you barely know, but ask them to be, hey, can you advise me once in a while? I want to put together a life team. My life team is 12 people that I may see once or twice a year. And that's really critical, because they'll help you think way differently, because they're in different industries and completely different networks. They'll really help you think differently.
I love that idea. Life team. I never thought about that way. Never even considered, like, hey, you need a lawyer, you need a doctor, you need a sales guy. Like, you need these people from different perspectives and angles, but they all have something different to bring to the table. So it makes perfect sense. I'm sure that was a good little nugget.
It's really critical, because let's say that's what that circle on wisdom was actually about at the conversation, but it's hard for people to get that, is wisdom will come from that life team. And again, it may be people, it's not going to be your wife. Your wife is your wife. It's not going to be your best friend. Your best friend is your best friend. Your life team are going to be experts in that field, that if you can nurture, do nurture. And, when you have a legal problem, you're going to be able to call up that lawyer and say, look, I really have a question here. And I've done that before. And the answer from the lawyer was completely opposite the path I was going down. Completely opposite. The answer from the doctor, completely opposite what I would have done. So if you have a life team, you want to ask certain questions of them, because they're in a different industry, and it's really great. It'll help you just transform your mindset, especially if you can pick people in different industries that are really wise.
Yeah, no, I can see how that would be beneficial. So let me ask you this then, because there's some people on here that are thinking, yeah, I don't know any lawyers. I don't have any guys that sold a company for $50 million. I don't have access to these people. I know what the answer is, but I just want to hear, at least I know what my answer is. How would you suggest that somebody goes about building a life team if they don't have these pieces? Like somebody in here, I just saw it out of the corner of my eye, said that his circle sucks, basically. I don't know word for word. I won't scroll through. But basically he says he has no circle. So how do you build one? How do you go find these people that you can count on and trust?
Whoever that was that said your circle sucks, get a new circle, because I've been there when I was younger and I just wasn't around great people and I didn't know these concepts. I learned the concept of get a life team from two incredible entrepreneurs. One was the owner of a real estate company in Canada, Century 21, but he's also one of the founders of EO, the Entrepreneur Organization. And the other was Tony Geary, a life coach and CEO transformation coach. So I learned that concept from them. So, I learned it while I was writing a book called Business Ground Rules. But what I would do is really seek people out, seek people out. Say, hey, would you be on my life team? All that means is that you're saying to yourself that there's 12 people. And here's why it's really, really critical for your emotional health as well as your wealth. If you run into trouble emotionally, let's say your girlfriend breaks up with you or you lose your job or whatever, you want to have a psychologist, a coach, someone on that life team. It's not somebody that you're paying right now. It's just you want to have them on your life team. So if you could be in my house today, you would see I have one wall of idea paint and I have all 12 members of my life team written down on that wall. Some I have not seen in 9 months, but just, do a better job of nurturing them. But start thinking about who you would have on your life team if you went through a crisis, for instance.
Yeah, absolutely. And Austin says, how do you get in that circle when you're not a proven success or a millionaire? That is just that's just an excuse, in my opinion, because when the company I was working for went under and I lost everything and I had to reboot and restart, I didn't have anything. I didn't have any influence or I wasn't balling. I wasn't making all this money. And what did I do? I got out of obscurity. I put myself out there. I represented myself for who I am. And then I started reaching out and finding people that I would want to be connected with. That's how I ended up in Las Vegas. That's how I ended up working for Brad. So now Brad's in my life team. I wouldn't have called it that before, but it's true. CEO of a $50 million company, been in business for 17 years. I had no business getting anybody's attention. Yeah, I've been doing what I've been doing for 15 years and I'm good at it, but I was on the ground floor. I had to start over. So, but I want
to answer two questions, because just like you just said, you had to start over, Eddie. You don't have to be a millionaire. Okay, first of all, millionaires and billionaires, they have spent years mentoring people, hopefully, right? If they haven't, then don't even worry about talking to them, right? You want to talk to people who are mentors. It's not about money. But the other great question on there, I think it was Andrea said, can your life team ever get too big? Well, I would say if I see a lot of people with blind spots, okay, who have friends in their inner circle that are friends that they're seeking advice from, and they're always going to be in that inner circle. So again, I don't have friends necessarily on my life team. My friends are people I'll blow off steam with, I'll go be real with, I'll be stupid with, but my friends aren't really my life team, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have friends that I can talk to every day and run stuff by, and then I have people in my company, but my life team is different. So seek out a life team that is really, like I said, professionals, right? If you need advice in any area of expertise in your industry, send a text message, send a messenger and say, you know, hey, Eddie, would you be on my life team? I mean, if you admire Eddie, then ask him, because successful people mentor other people. And all that means is, Eddie, I might contact you once every 6 months and bounce something off you. But the reason to designate a life team and to write it down on your bathroom mirror who those 12 people are is, especially if you struggle in any way emotionally, if you struggle, with anything. Successful people struggle. Sometimes they struggle with decisions. Sometimes they struggle with depression. If you think you're going to struggle, get people on your life team that you can go to. It's about having a roadmap to be prepared. So for instance, one of the people on my life team is literally a pastor from Africa, okay? From Africa, and that person's on my life team. Another one is a millionaire. Another one's a lawyer. Another one's an attorney. Another one, a doctor. Another one's an entrepreneur. Another guy has bought and sold 100 companies. So each person has a different role, but your life team also will change. My life team has actually changed. And so we're talking about blind spots. They will definitely help you uncover some blind spots.
I love that. I love that a lot. I've never heard that before. So my takeaway from this is definitely going to be that life team concept, because that hasn't really been anything that's been on my mind. It's been like, hey, you got bad friends, get them out of your life, get some new friends, get some good friends, some people that'll like tell you the truth and keep it real with you, which is what I have. I have a tight circle of people that I can call, but they are my friends, and I do understand the value, or I can see the value in having a life team that's outside of that circle, because then there's no emotional attachment at all there.
Right. And there's no financial attachment either. I mean, I can go ask a question of people in my company, but there might be bias there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it.
I mean, I've got some people that think I'm the greatest, and they're not going to be honest with me. They're going to be their honest.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great way to put it. They're going to be their honest. So, well, I appreciate everybody jumping in here. We try to keep these things to about 40 minutes, 45 minutes. I think Tammy and I could probably go off for a while on this, and it would probably morph into something else. So I would like to do this again with you down the line, if you'd be up for that.
You bet. Absolutely. Thanks, Austin. Thanks, Rosie. Yes, definitely. I would love it.
Awesome. So,
and we could pick a topic, like this, or we could have people send in their blind spots ahead of time. How cool would that be? Hey, Reed Barrett. Reed Barrett performs at the Bellagio. Do you know him, Eddie?
I don't.
So he performs at the Bellagio. He is a millennial magician. He's unbelievable. But he also just became a fighter pilot. He just joined.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy. A fighter pilot?
I know, right? Magician, Bellagio, speaker, fighter pilot. I know, right?
He's thinking big.
Yeah. Hey, Becky Larkin, how's it going?
Hey, so I got a cool idea. I'll talk to you about it later, but maybe we'll do like a 4-part series on Tuesday nights on the Hustle here, covering maybe the different topics from the conversation, or just blind spots in general. And I'll have people submit in questions and things that they have going on, and we can help knock those out and address them on Tuesdays for a little while, because we're changing up our format here on Home of the Hustle from just a straight interview thing to actually trying to address specific issues rather than just introduce people. Obviously, we introduce them on the front end because I always like to bring in people that people don't know. But we're definitely changing up a little bit. Mondays, which used to be an interview show with Jason Daniels, is now Coach's Corner. So he brings on life coaches, business coaches, sales coaches, things like that, and then addresses specific issues. So we can get more on the life side on Tuesdays for a couple weeks. But we'll figure that out and see if that works for the both of us.
Hey, Eddie Martin, you might have some fans on here. You get a bunch of hearts. Who's giving us all those hearts?
That is the law. That's Thursday nights. That's Lawrence Thomas. Or Lawrence
Thank you, Lawrence.
Lawrence Thompson. Lawrence is a great guy. He's a motivational speaker. He has been homeless. He is not homeless anymore. He is a U.S. Navy active military. He is, I believe it's Navy. Yes, it's Navy. And he's being deployed in November. So he is going back to go serve this country again on another deployment. So we're excited for Lawrence and all the growth and everything that he's doing. I love that dude. We got introduced to him by Jason Daniels because they're both out in Memphis.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Lawrence, friend me.
Yeah. So a lot of good people. We're always surrounded by good people over here in this thing. We're polar, so we kind of push away the bad and we keep the good.
There you go.
So I like that. But yeah, so takeaways from this: go build yourself a life team. Pay attention to what your legacy means. Think about what that means to you, and don't worry if you're rich, if you're poor, if you're homeless, or if you're the CEO, because at the end of the day, we're all people, and your life exists between here. What your life means to you exists between there. So don't be afraid to reach out to that doctor, that lawyer, that CEO, that person of influence that you're scared to reach out to, because they're not scared to answer you. If they have the time, they will answer you. They want to help.
Good advice. Great advice.
So, all right, cool. Well, I appreciate it, Tammy. And I'll reach out to you tomorrow, and we'll see if we can figure out something else we can do together.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me on your show.
Yeah, thanks for coming. I'm sure everybody appreciates it. So take it easy. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. Home of the Hustle with Frank Sell. I don't know what Frank's got going on tomorrow, but Frank is the man. Do you know Frank, Tammy? Have you met Frank with the big red beard? And he's like the most intelligent, like emotionally intelligent individual ever.
We just became friends today, so I'm looking forward to it. I'll tune in.
Yeah, Frank's great. So appreciate you again. Have a great night, and I'll talk to you real soon.
Okay.
All right.
All
Bye.
right. Thanks.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.